This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon from the cars. We get set up to discuss today's Edmonton Oilers. Thoughts I guess I have for you is we have had almost an entire day to digest the fact that the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Finals. And well, you know what? It still doesn't seem real for a kid that grew up very quickly as an Oilers fan, watching the Oilers in 05-06 go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Carolina Hurricanes and ultimately losing those finals. We now have a team from a similar area in the United States going up against the Oilers in 2024, a grand total of 18 years later. I'm looking forward to discussing kind of how the Oilers have arrived at last for this moment in franchise history. But before we get to that, if you are new to the channel, I will tell you, we'll have the live streamed play-by-play all that of the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll have a whole bunch of coverage. I want you to hit that subscribe button. If you think I'm just some random guy talking off a device in his car, I'm telling you, we got a little bit more to the show than that. Poke around the channel. That said, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of today's video, friends. As the Oilers, hey, they showed up in Game 6, and they showed why they in 2024 have earned the right to be one of two teams, the Western Conference representative, in the Stanley Cup Final. And that is the craziest thing to me here is you look back where we were at the start of the year. I think it was very easy for a lot of folks to write them off. I think we're going to have a lot of people come through the channel here that look back at the Edmonton Oilers fold the franchise video I did. The Edmonton Oilers just aren't good enough right now, right? All those videos we did between November, December 2023, it's really going to be something that is almost a historic piece in terms of how this season was to where this season is currently and where it could ultimately finish up here for the Oilers, right? You are now, it seemed crazy to say it going into Game 6, 5 wins away from the Stanley Cup Final. Well, tonight it is now only 4, and that begins a quest on Saturday evening. Of course, what we'll tell you is there's ball all day on Saturday. The Pirates are down here in Crossfield in the Pete Knight Days slow pitch tournament for Crossfield this year. So we'll have a little adjusted schedule on game day there, but we will be live at 5:30 to get things going. And that said, too, as well, the Oilers obviously looking forward to earlier start times guaranteed throughout the rest of the playoffs. I think everything's at 6 p.m. the rest of the way home. And honestly, it's just getting more and more beautiful out there by the day. But the thing is, too, it's more and more beautiful to watch the Oilers by the day, right? That's something that I don't think a lot of us Oilers fans could really say about this team at any point under Connor McDavid, where it's been, hey, this is hockey. This is how you win. This is how you get somewhere in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've never been able to say that. I listened to a lot of Calgary Flames radio today, obviously 6:30 Ched, kind of shady once you get into the city of Calgary. It hits well in Airdrie, hits well north as well towards, like I'm right now in Crossfield. I should be listening to Bob right now, but talking to you instead. But it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, I mean, the Oilers have found ways, penalty killing, goaltending, defense, commitment to the cause, whatever you want to call it, to win games 2-1. 3-2 in regulation, in overtime, grind it out, grind it down, grind a win. And that's something that I think a lot of people throughout since Vancouver, since Dallas, Vancouver, and now Florida, everyone's sitting here saying, oh, the other team's so much better than the Oilers. The other team's so much better than the Oilers. I'm starting to believe, and this might just be an unfounded theory because I'm an Oilers fan and I might be biased by a lot, but just saying, I'm starting to believe we have some of, if not the best role players you could possibly have at this point to surround Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And the reason I'm led to believe that, you'll be shocked at why I think that, is because the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Final, right? I think, the Oilers never before in the McDavid tenure won a game in the third round. Instead, they come in and defeat the juggernaut Dallas Stars, or that's at least what we were told. Now, yes, I get it. Dallas obviously just couldn't quite get there at a point in the series where I think the Oilers got there a little faster. That's fine. But Florida, yes, they're great. They're awesome. They're all that. But I'm not going to sit here and discredit, just because of how great Florida is, I'm not going to discredit how well the Oilers role players play, how great the depth for the Oilers has been all playoffs, and just how important it ultimately will be to be beating the Florida Panthers. It was today on the Jeff Merrick show with Elliot Friedman talking about how Evander Kane may very ultimately end up being the X factor in this series. Simply, I know he might be a little hurt right now. A week off should do that. No problem, I guess, 5 days, whatever. But ultimately, Evander Kane's a guy who, you know what, if Kachuk's running around, if Bennett's running around, Kane's your answer to that, and it really depends. Do Kachuk and Bennett want to take liberties at McDavid and Draisaitl? Because don't you worry, there will be no problemo on Kane taking a liberty on maybe an Ekblad, maybe a Barkov, right? No problem. He'll take a run at those guys, and ultimately may become the team that has the um, least amount of suspended players at the end of the day, because you think Kachuk and obviously Bennett and Kane and the Oilers, it's a long tenured history, and the more stupidity that happens, the more likely there is to be a suspension, the more likely it is to kind of shift into the depth of the Oilers and shift into the depth of the Panthers. And um, I'd be really interested to see kind of for the Oilers and Panthers where guys 14 through 16 stack up in the lineup versus each other, right? Like the Oilers obviously got Gagne sitting there. You've got a guy like Warren Fogle. Obviously, he's 13 kind of probably, but you get it, right? There's Carrick. There's all those guys for the Oilers versus I don't know exactly what the Panthers have for depth guys, but I'm really liking what all the Oilers forwards that have seen action here in the playoffs have done when challenged by Chris Knoblauch, and there is no bigger challenge going into tonight's kind of first preview here on the channel, than what happens on Saturday coming for the Oilers against the Panthers in game one. So I'm really looking forward to that, and obviously looking forward to seeing what happens here in this series. But as it comes down to it for the Oilers, like the crazy part is we're talking about it, which means despite everything that's gone on this year, despite everything that's gone on in the Peter Chiarelli, Ken Holland, obviously you've had a million different coaches since then. You've had Ken Hitchcock, you've had Dave Tippett, you've had Tom McClellan, you've had Jay Woodcroft, you've had obviously now as well Chris Knoblauch. Friends, I can honestly say, and this seems crazy to say, but I'm going to say it again one more time before we head out, the Oilers have arrived. They're at the moment. They are here. This is the moment we have all waited for them to get to under the new Connor McDavid tenure that started back in 15-16. And it honestly took 1 year of Jeff Jackson, one full year of Jeff Jackson to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. A move that I was like, oh boy, this is a real big boy move here from Daryl Cates and everything. But yeah, the Edmonton Oilers now all of a sudden just 4 victories away. 4 out of 7 is the least you have to get to try and win the Stanley Cup here in 2024. Friends, I'm looking forward to it. The Oilers have arrived. Oilers fans arrived right at the start of these playoffs. We've been bringing the energy all the time. I'm looking forward to seeing how crazy things are in downtown Edmonton game 1 as we build towards what ultimately will be game number 4 and 6 at home in potential series clinching games. That's as far as I'll go on that. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thanks for being aboard. I am up on out of here again, though. I guess before I get out, I should mention thanks to everybody being in the chat here tonight. Really do appreciate you hanging out with me and obviously chatting. I'm seeing pretty much everything is let's go Oilers, let's go Oilers, let's go Oilers. So I think everybody's good there. We will talk to you in a little bit here, friends. Maybe when I get home, if ball indeed ends up being canceled tonight. That doesn't look so great, and I can tell you that doesn't look so great either. So we'll see what happens here this evening. But thanks for being aboard. The Oilers have arrived.